In this segment, I will discuss what it means to sell in a consultative way and how you can make more gross profit with higher customer satisfaction if you embrace this way of selling. Before we begin, if you have not done so already, please download the documents that go with this segment. I want to start by talking about a term that gets used quite a bit in a dealership, and that word is control. I want you to think back to the 1960s and 70s in the car business. Back then, if a customer wanted to know anything about your product, they had to ask you, a sales consultant. You had all the knowledge. You knew about the vehicle's features and equipments. You also knew what the invoice of that vehicle was, including any incentives. In addition, only you could tell a customer what their trade-in was worth. In other words, you had all the control. Because you had all the control, dealerships executed their sales processes a certain way. Fast forward to today. If a customer wants to know about the features of a vehicle, what do? What if a customer wants to know what the invoice is on a vehicle or what their trade-in is worth? Where does a customer go to get all this information? That's correct, the internet. All the information customers need to get from a sales consultant in 1970, they can now get from their computer. So, who has all the control today? Given that over 80% of all customers begin their car buying experience online, I would say customers have all the control. Therefore, you need to execute your sales process differently than you did in 1970 if you want to be successful. By success, I mean sell more cars at a higher gross profit with increased customer satisfaction. Since you are no longer the one who is in control, why do your managers ask if you have control of your customer? By the way, what does that mean anyway? If I asked you to control something, your natural instinct would be to grab it. Is that what we want to do with our customers? When you are a customer in a retail setting, like a department store or a consumer electronics store, do you like to be controlled? The idea of being in control leads us to pull the customer through our process. We do this by saying things like, "Follow me," when we want the customer to go somewhere with us, or by letting an objection go in one ear and out the other. Unfortunately, at some point, some of you were made to believe that in order to sell a car, you needed to control your customer throughout the sales process. Don't get me wrong. You can sell a customer a vehicle by pulling them through your sales process. However, your customer satisfaction will be low, your gross profit will probably also be low, and it is not a very pleasant experience for you. The 21st century way to sell cars involves guiding the customer through the sales process. Understanding that your customer may know as much or more than you about the vehicle they are interested in. We call this consultative selling. However, you cannot execute the sales process in a consultative way if you skip steps in the process. When you skip steps, you are forced to try and control your customer using 1970 tactics. I know there will be people out there who say, "I've been selling cars for the last 30 years a certain way, and why should I change now?" There are also other consultants who think you can sell cars today the same way cars were sold 20 or 30 years ago. Well, consider this. In 1980, the average car salesperson sold 10 cars a month. Today, the average car salesperson sells 10 cars a month. However, in 1980, that same salesperson did their own F&I, did not have a BDC department to make their follow-up calls, and did their own prospecting and sometimes closed their own deals. Car sales is the only industry where productivity has actually gone down over the last 30 years. So maybe we need a different way of selling, not a different process. As you saw the building value in the sales process video, the sales process is the same as it was 30 years ago. However, the execution of that process needs to change. In sales, there are 3 different phases. The first is order taking. The next phase is selling, and finally you have consultative selling. When you hear the word order taker, what comes to mind? Probably a fast food restaurant or the person who sells you tickets to a movie. With order taking, you might think of words like quick, impersonal, and inexpensive. People who are order takers may say something like, "Tell me what you want." In this phase, customer satisfaction is usually low, as is gross profit. Now let's look at the second phase, which is selling. This is the hard sell process, the way cars were sold in the 20th century. Salespeople who are in this phase treat their customers like a cash register, trying to get the most out of them now with no regard to the future. Salespeople in this phase just tell the customer everything they know and hope something sticks, a sort of product dump. If you are rushing through the sales process without getting to know your customers, this is all you can do. The problem with doing this is that it is tough to differentiate yourself on products alone. So many vehicles today are well built and have all the bells and whistles. Also, if one model doesn't work out, chances are that same dealership has other models that will. Most people in car sales are using this technique. Therefore, you cannot differentiate yourself from the sales consultant down the street. This is the stereotypical negative salesman. Salespeople in this phase resist questioning their customers. They believe they already know what their customer wants, or they say they don't have the time to find out. Sales consultants who use this type of selling can get ahead of their customer and ask closing questions way too early or bring in a closer too early. When this happens, customers feel pressured to buy. Now, you may sell cars doing business this way. However, your gross profit, while more than an order taking, will be low, and your customer satisfaction will also be low. In the consultative selling phase, the sales consultant customizes their approach to the customer using listening and questioning skills. The sales consultant has a positive attitude, is confident in their own skills and abilities, and not afraid of customer objections. On the contrary, sales consultants in this phase welcome objections as an opportunity to differentiate themselves, their products, and their process. In consultative selling, gross profit and customer satisfaction are high. The other thing that is high is your enjoyment of your job. Consultative selling is a much better way for you to sell cars. It is less stressful and more fun. An easy way to differentiate between consultative selling and selling involves the following question. If you are asked why you are going to see a customer, if you respond with to sell them a car or tell them about a car, then you are in the selling process. However, if you say instead to learn information from the customer to help him select a vehicle that matches his wants and needs, then you are consultative selling. In selling, it is all about you. In consultative selling, it is all about the customer. When you are a customer in a retail business, which way do you want to be sold to? Now, if you are thinking, well, in some cases I want a quick order taker or a salesperson who can just tell me about the product, then does that mean you do not want consultative selling? If you want the sales consultant to adjust to you, meaning go faster or provide you with more product information, then you want consultative selling. In consultative selling, the sales consultant adjusts to the customer. That means with some customers he goes faster, with others he goes slower. However, it all depends on the customer, because in consultative selling, that's who it's all about. Consultative selling is about getting to know your customer so you can deliver on what they want. By executing the sales process through consultative selling, you guide the customer from the meet and greet to the close in a non-confrontational manner. When a customer interacts with you or your dealership, one of two things is always happening. Either their trust is going up or their anxiety is going up. When a customer's trust in you is high, their anxiety is low. However, when their trust is low, their anxiety is high. If a customer's trust is high, you should be preparing to close the deal. However, if anxiety is high, do not ask for the sale. Even though you might get the sale, your gross profit and customer satisfaction will be low. Your job is to guide the customer through the sales process while increasing their trust and reducing their anxiety. Consultative selling allows you to do this. I want to make sure you understand this concept of trust versus anxiety. Everything you do when you are with a customer is either increasing their trust or their anxiety. That means your mannerisms, what you say, and almost more importantly, how you say it. If executing your sales process in a certain way increases anxiety, then you better find a better way to execute that part of the process. For example, in most dealerships, the turnover to a manager is high anxiety producing for the customer. Now, you are not going to eliminate the process. However, as you can see in the proper turnover process video, I introduce a non-anxiety producing way to execute the turnover to a manager. So always be increasing a customer's trust and reducing their anxiety. We use this concept throughout the training videos. With consultative selling, customers are more relaxed and do not dread spending time with you. Customers feel that you want to understand their needs and wants, and they appreciate this. They will not feel like you are trying to be that 1970s salesperson who will say anything to get them to buy a car. They see you as a true consultant that is trying to help them with their purchase decision. For you, consultative selling represents a way to make more money. In a competitive environment, quality and performance can start to look like commodities, which means lowest price wins. A personal relationship is never a commodity. If you can build a relationship with your customer, you reach the partnership advisor level with your customer, which not only sets you apart, but also means higher gross profit. You differentiate yourself from all the other sales consultants. Consultative selling occurs when you use your questioning and listening skills with your customers. While gathering information from your customer, you are finding out what is important to them. You then use this information to guide them in choosing the vehicle that best suits their needs, not yours. Consultative selling is the way you execute the sales process. In the training videos for each of the steps in the sales process, I discuss the best way to execute that part of the process. I use the concepts we have discussed here in each of those videos. Consultative selling involves asking questions to your customers, listening to their answers, and then using that information to help you find them a vehicle that not only fills their wants and needs, but also increases their trust while reducing their anxiety. If you are able to do this, you will sell more cars, make more money with higher customer satisfaction.